with Dr. Vanita Zahn.
The warm weather, the outdoors calling. It's a great escape from everything. But don't throw caution to the wind, because you've got to protect yourself against Lyme disease. Nurse practitioner Jen Goldstock is also a board member with the Lyme Action Network, and she's my guest right now. Hi, Jen. Good to have you with us.
Hi, Benita. Great to be here.
So, you know, Lyme, so many things have gotten pushed to the side because of the concerns about COVID. But this is, at least it was setting up to be sort of a banner year for ticks.
It's probably the most active tick season that we've seen yet. It's actually pretty scary. And in my opinion, we've got two pandemics going on right now. We've got COVID and we have Lyme disease.
And we've got to be careful. And I was reading, and that's sort of what prompted me to make the phone call to get you here as a guest, is that there are some symptoms of both, so that you may be missing the fact that you're infected with Lyme. Run those down for us.
Sure. They both actually, both COVID and Lyme create a lot of inflammation in the body. They both can present with flu-like symptoms. The difference is the COVID symptoms are generally centered on the respiratory symptom with a cough and shortness of breath. Whereas Lyme, we do get the flu-like presentation. About 50% or less have that bullseye rash or a solid red rash. Mm-hmm. The hallmark symptom of Lyme disease, though, is this migratory joint pain. And what we mean by migratory is that one day you'll wake up and you'll have pain in your knee and your shoulder. The next day it'll be in your ankles and your hips. It kind of moves around the body, and that's kind of a hallmark Lyme symptom.
Jen, by the time you are having this migratory joint discomfort, is it too late to be treated, or is it longer to kick it to the curb? Help us understand.
The key with Lyme disease is to treat as soon as possible, and to treat completely. What happens a lot of times, and we're still seeing this, and it's surprising to me every time I see it, is that patients will see their doctor and they'll get 2 doses of doxycycline. There is absolutely no evidence that that treatment prevents Lyme disease. And as a matter of fact, we see people in our practice all the time that were kind of victims of that 2-dose treatment and now are suffering with horrible symptoms of post-treatment Lyme or chronic Lyme disease.
And so I know there are some there's some in the medical community who don't believe there's chronic Lyme. I've been to enough of those conferences. Call it what you want. They're suffering long term. So we can put that on the shelf for a moment. I want to talk a little bit about, though, treatment. A couple of years ago, I had a rash that started growing, and just prophylactically, so the doc recommended 2 weeks of doxycycline. In my interviews with all you folks, I said, can I have 3 weeks? Mm-hmm. So what is it? Is it 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks? Is it 2 days? What should we be treated with? What is the research the folks at the Lyme Action Network dealing with?
Mm-hmm. So what you never want to do just the 1-day 2-dose doxycycline. That will result in problems. We generally treat 3 to 4 weeks with doxycycline as a preventative after a known tick bite or a bullseye rash, or it's not always a bullseye, there can sometimes be a solid red rash as well. Mm-hmm. So the key again, Benita, is to treat as soon as you have the tick bite or the rash, or you start having symptoms.
And clearly you don't even want to get to that point. So we're using products with DEET, is that, and tuck in, cover up?
Yep. So prevention is key. Permethrin on clothing only. You never ever want to apply that to your skin. Products that have DEET. There are also a lot of good natural products out there. The key with the natural products is that when you're outside in a kind of Lyme endemic area, like if you're hiking, camping, you want to make sure that you reapply that every 2 hours. The other thing that I recommend is that if you're out hiking in the woods, bring a lint roller with you and roll your clothes every once in a while. You'd be surprised how many ticks end up sticking to that roller.
Yeah.
You also want to make sure that fashion, in Glamour magazine, they used to have the Glamour Don't. You definitely want to be a Glamour Don't when you're out there. Tuck your white pants into your white knee socks. make sure that you're wearing a hat, protecting yourself as much as possible. Those ticks are smaller than a poppy seed, and they can creep into any little opening they can find.
I'm going to let that be the last word. Let folks think about that. It's a scary world out there. Nobody wants to wear a mask. Nobody wants to put on the steed. Nobody. But you know what? There are consequences for not taking precautions. And we don't want to have to get into the situation of getting treated. Jen Goldstock, thank you so very much. Later in the season, let's have a conversation and see how this season's played out. Talk a little bit more about where treatment is headed. I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Benita. It was great seeing you.
Take care. And thank you all for joining us. For more information on Lyme disease, I've set up a link to the Lyme Action Network. You're going to find it in the link section right here on the WNYT website. Take care. See you next time.